In 2025, there's about 1 in every 5 Americans that are behind on payments, that are credit card payments, loan payments, student loan payments, whatever the case is. It's just an average of 1 out of every 5 people. That's a lot. That's about 20% of Americans in today's world. So in this episode, I want to go over some options that you may have, or maybe that you don't have, when it comes to late payments and potentially getting those late payment remarks removed off of your credit report.
Yes, it pays to have good credit.
You would always want to be on the side of having good credit.
Do you think it pays to have good credit? All right, so let's first talk about what happens when you miss a payment, right? So let's pretend you have a credit card or a loan, student loan, whatever the case is. This information is reported to the credit bureaus every 30 days. Every month, new data is reported, and that data is updated on your credit reports, and that what gives you your score every 30 days. So the reason why people do research on how to remove late payments, or they contact us at Sturgis Credit Repair about how to remove late payments, is because those late payments are really affecting their credit scores. I've seen on average where people drop 50 to 80 points as far as, points on their credit score, simply because they've missed payments recently on credit cards and loans, or whatever that they have, auto loan, whatever. So believe it or not, I've seen people drop over 120 points if they have really excellent credit. Let's say if somebody have a 800 credit score, or 780, 750, whatever the case is, and they went from 100% on-time payment to now a recent late payment on their credit report within, the last few weeks or last few months, their scores are probably going to drop into the 600s, maybe high 500s, depending on their credit profile. So it's very important for these people to get late payments removed, because it is holding back points that may be preventing them from buying a home, getting a car. Let's say there's an emergency, someone's car breaks down, they don't have the cash to pay for it outright, and they want to finance something cheap, or vice versa. They need to move into a different home or a different area, and they need their credit soon so they can purchase a house, or maybe they just don't want to rent anymore. So people look into ways to remove late payments from their credit, because it is going to benefit their credit score, and they don't feel like waiting 7 years until it naturally falls off, which, should be the correct way to do so. However, there's options, and people don't have time to wait 7 years. So the most humble part of this episode is mainly taking accountability for those who are watching or listening to this on the audio platforms. If you recently missed a payment, before you even research how to remove a late payment, the first thing you need to do is understand that, you did this, regardless of if there was financial difficulties, or you forgot, or you accidentally forgot to make your payment, or didn't make your payment, or you thought the money went through but it bounced back. You as a financial adult, you're responsible for making sure that the payment is posted, making sure you got the money saved up to make your payment next month. Whatever the case is, it is your responsibility to plan ahead of yourself. First of all, not to go more down the Dave Ramsey route, but, whatever that you're currently paying on, your house, your car, your credit cards, before you're late, before you even got that account, hopefully you were responsible enough to plan ahead to where you're like, hey, if I lose a job, I know I have this amount in my savings, so I can continue paying this account for several months, or pay it off, or whatever the case is, so I won't be late. That is what you call financial planning, or responsible planning. So a lot of people get into a trap of missing payments because they fall behind on bills, they lose income, they lose a job, and now they have this lifestyle that they have to pay for, And the first little thing that happens in their life, they don't have any money saved up, and what happens? They miss a payment. So realistically, that's the first thing that is going to help avoid late payments in the future, is planning ahead and making sure that you're not getting something that you have to pay back and your life is ruined once any small financial change happens to you, right? So that's the first thing. But realistically, let's continue this on something else that you can do to prevent late payments. And I'm going to transition this episode into what to do once you have a late payment. So the very first thing that you need to do is understand that you're going to be late soon. So let's just say something happened to you financially and you have all of these bills to pay for, and you know you're going to be behind. So the first thing you need to do is, believe it or not, contact your creditors, contact your bank, contact the company that you owe. You need to contact them and be transparent with them. Reason being, let's pretend I owe you $500, right? If I'm paying you back $100 a month for 5 months until I pay you back this $500, would you prefer me to reach out to you if I'm going to be short 1 month, or not just say anything? Right? So that's kind of how the banks look at this. So at the end of the day, the people that work at the banks, believe it or not, they are humans. And this person who may work in the credit department or whichever department that has the authority to adjust payment history on your credit reports or not report you, whatever the case is, if you be transparent with your creditor, not saying it's going to work, but there's probably a 30% chance that they will work with you, and maybe they can not switch your due date or not, switch your payment to the end of the loan or whatever the case is, even though those are things that they can do. But a lot of times they may say, hey, look, we understand financial difficulties happen. Instead of us reporting your payment history this month, we're just going to skip the reporting part, and we're not going to report you again until you get back on track. Or you can just skip this payment and we're going to push it back to the end of the loan, or we're going to skip this payment and now you owe us 2 payments next month. So there's many things that not all, that some creditors can do to work with you if you be transparent with them. Remember, look at them as you. If someone is paying you money and they know they're going to be short and they just ghost you and ignore you, when you see that they haven't been paying you, you're just going to be like, oh, screw this person, right? So be transparent with your creditors. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to move into is mainly contacting them again, but mainly you want to get in contact with them once you have a late payment that popped up on your credit. Because again, if you stay up to date with things and you stay on top of things, they know that you're serious about this. So many times this is going to relate to the people who had no idea they were going to be late. They just accidentally forgot to make a payment, or maybe there's a husband who works every day, and then the wife stays at home and her job is to pay the bills, or vice versa. Maybe one spouse is more tech savvy or computer savvy, and that person is responsible for making the payments, and they forgot to process a payment for one of the other spouse's accounts, whatever the case is. So this next topic here, number 2, is mainly for the people who are like, wait, when did this happen? Because they seen their credit score drop 80 points and they're like, dang. So this point here is for you. You want to catch them instantly. The second you realize you missed a payment and you saw it on your credit report and you seen your credit scores just, go from 750 to 550, whatever the case is, you want to contact your creditor ASAP, because again, they understand that you're serious, and they may understand that, look, maybe this wasn't meant to be. Now, hear me out. The first thing about this is creditors are responsible for reporting accurate information. So when you miss a payment, that is accurate. You realistically, you missed a payment. So deep down, again, this goes back to you having accountability. The bank does not have to reverse your late payment or update your late payment. I know there's a lot of videos on TikTok and YouTube that's telling people do this, and that, and you're guaranteed to have everything removed off your credit in 24 hours. So that's not the case. Creditors are responsible for reporting 100% accurate information, not modified information. So if a creditor tells you no, don't get mad because you did this, right? So this is just something that they have to do. It's their requirement. So, but going back to it, you want to contact the creditor on a goodwill basis because this can potentially have them do a one-time courtesy of updating the payment history in their system. So the next time they report your information to the credit bureaus, it is now going to reflect that this account was never late. Okay. So again, when you first notice that you missed something or you missed a payment and it reported to your credit, you need to contact them instantly. This is called a goodwill request, right? So you're mainly contacting the creditor, letting them know what happened. You may need to write them a formal letter if they, you can't get in contact with somebody deep into their branch over the phone. It's best to contact them by a formal letter explaining what exactly happened. Don't call them yelling and screaming because they're just going to want to get you off the phone at that point, and they're not going to help you. I wouldn't help you if you're screaming in my ear, but write them a formal letter, explain what led up to this. How did this happen? What steps you're going to take to get the account back in good standing, or what steps did you take to get the account back in good standing? And how is this promise to never happen again? And what steps are you taking, or what plan have you made to ensure that this doesn't happen again? So that is called a goodwill formal request, to where you send that to your creditor and they will attempt to, feel sorry for you. But again, they don't have to accept this. There's maybe 30-40% of creditors that are out there who are going to be like, okay, I understand deep down, I feel sorry for you. Let's put this past us. Let's start over. Let's get this updated. If it happens again, you're messed up. But since this is your first late payment with us, or we understand what you've been going through, we're just going to update this, and then next time it reports, the previous information we reported is removed, and then this is now updated. So that's how a goodwill request works. So the final thing, which is you're almost out of luck at this point. The final thing you can do is, if the creditor rejects your goodwill request, is now contact the credit bureaus, file a dispute with them. Now, you're not filing a dispute like you would, with my normal customers who are enrolled in Sturgis Credit Repair. You're not requesting them to verify the account because they own the account. It's the creditor's account. You do that with debt collection companies and validating the debts and looking for violations and all that nonsense. So you really don't have too many options here when it comes to disputing with the credit bureaus. The only option you have is looking for errors within the account and process that dispute with the credit bureaus. And look, if there's errors, the account is going to be removed. If not, your only best bet is if the creditor just doesn't respond within 30 days. So that's really your only options to go when it comes to disputing a open account, specifically with a credit bureau or with the creditor, because like I said, you're not requesting your own creditor to verify their own account. That's silly. You're not doing that like you would with a debt collection account, or asking them to validate the debt and all this stuff. It's their account. You do that with third-party companies who have no idea what this account is, that may be lacking documents like the original contract or the all the the notices and agreements that you signed to pay back this account with the original creditor. So that's stuff that you take with third-party accounts like debt collectors or bill collectors, whatever. But when it comes to the original creditor, you really don't have too much or too many options if they say no, because when you dispute with the credit bureaus, the bureaus get in contact with the creditor and they're just going to say the same thing. So unless there's obvious errors within the account, I mean, that's your only chance. So more of the story, there is no such thing as guaranteeing that every single late payment on your credit is going to be removed, or that a simple late payment itself, especially on a open account that isn't charged off, and you have so many more options to dispute and look for. But when it comes to single late payment accounts, or accounts that has several late payments but it's still open, you're still paying on it, it's easily verified, you really don't have too many options but to get in contact with the creditor and see if they're going to help you out as a one-time favor, which is very unlikely. However, it happens. And I'm not just saying this to discourage anyone who's listening or watching this episode, because me, myself, as somebody that works in the credit repair industry, I see hundreds, if not thousands, of individual late payments removed every single day. I mean, not thousands on a day, but throughout the year, I see it every day that it happens. There's many creditors that will understand consumer situations, and many times we can work with them and kind of explain the situation further. But realistically, the moral of the story is those are the only options you have when it comes to a late payment. And don't assume that this is something that you can guarantee to get removed or automatically get removed just because you ask them to, because they do not have to. That is all. If you use credit to improve your lifestyle and would like to share your story on the It Pays to Have Good Credit podcast, feel free to reach out to us at info@SturgisCreditRepair.com. Sturgis is spelled STIRGUS, creditrepair.com.